Up next is a powerhouse panel discussion from Amazon, featuring the Chief Medical Officer of Amazon, Dr. Wara Iogu, Vice President of Healthcare for Amazon, Aaron Martin, moderated by the General Partner from a 16Z Bio and Health, Julie Yu.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
They originally asked us to beatbox, but we were busy, so that was pretty cool. Thanks, guys, for joining us here. My theme for this conference was panels with friends, so it is a pleasure to be on stage with two of my very good friends, Aaron and Wara from Amazon. Aaron is the VP of Healthcare, and Nora has a fancy new title today, General Manager of the Amazon Clinic, which we'll hear more about in a second. But let's kick off with some orientation. So I think anytime Amazon puts out some headline about healthcare, the whole world stops and reads it. And this has happened many times in the last several years. But Aaron, do you mind giving us just the summary highlight reel of all of the things that Amazon has done in healthcare to date?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's happened is at the beginning of the year, we started to put all the various different experiments that we were doing in healthcare under a single leader, Neil Lindsay, who's my boss. And you know, I think the key thing that we've been focused on is like letting the customer lead us in the direction that we are trying to go. And so I think, you know, the key thing that you're going to see us doing a lot of is sticking with the stuff that we are traditionally really good at, which is, you know, connecting buyers and sellers and really kind of partnering with the industry to help, you know, customers, you know, find and discover and purchase healthcare and make it more convenient for them.
Yeah, amazing. And Wara, you know, when I think about all the sort of C-suite conversations that I have with healthcare leaders in the industry, every boardroom always says, you know, what if Amazon did this? Or, you know, how do we respond to Amazon when they enter into a space that might be their own? Tell us, you know, fast forward several years, you guys are successful with your healthcare strategy. How do you think industry players view you guys? Are you a friend? Are you a foe? Are you a partner, a competitor? What's kind of the ideal positioning that you see Amazon Health having in the market?
I'm hoping if we fast forward 10 years, people will look back and say, you know, maybe we had some worries about Amazon, but at the end of the day, Amazon really enabled us to do what we want to do better. So the same way that one of our core competencies is making things easier for customers, connecting customers to the products and services that they want, they'll also see that, wow, Amazon actually was really good at connecting us to customers. You know, we're so focused on improving the customer experience. The way that we look at it is, you know, what we say is that if we can make the things that should be easy in healthcare easier, everything will be better off. It'll be better for patients, it'll be better for providers, it'll be better for payers. We're looking on how do we enable the ecosystem with some of our core competencies, which is engaging customers. You know, if people bring out their phones, I'll bet a lot of people in the audience have the Amazon app. Think to yourself, how many folk have used the Amazon app in the past, you know, 1 week, 2 weeks? How many of you guys have used your Payers app in the last kind of 1 week, 2 weeks? So it's really about thinking about how do we help bring that level of engagement with the customer? How do we help enable that for the rest of the ecosystem?
Yeah, and maybe to that point, if you can share anything about the clinic side and, you know, take that question for the customer. How do you view the customer seeing Amazon Health in the future? Are you the front door? Are you the one-stop shop? You know, are you sort of the back door after someone's had a healthcare experience? Where in the journey do you see yourself intersecting? And anything you can share on the clinic?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of points that we can support and do support and will support. One of the things we love about, you know, Amazon Clinic is our focus there was saying, how do we make it more convenient for customers to access care? So we launched Amazon Clinic today as a way for customers to easily manage common conditions. So what that means is that customers can go online onto .com, which is oftentimes where they already are. So Amazon.com, the Amazon app, and directly from there, they can access and be connected to the providers of their choice. So that's already us partnering with leading digital health companies, leading telemedicine companies, who we can connect them with to be able to access care. So we're, again, leading into that competency of connecting customers to the providers who can provide care. So easier for customers to connect, easier for the providers to connect. It's really a win-win for that, and we're playing that matchmaker and building that great customer experience, which is one of our core competencies.
Yeah, I mean, I checked it out this morning. It's super cool. When you get to the provider selection piece, you actually display the names of digital health companies, and you let the consumer choose where they want to go. So maybe to that point, Aaron, we're in this amazing ecosystem of digital health builders, and it's only grown so significantly over the last couple of years. Again, this is another audience that always wonders, what does Amazon's presence in the market mean for me? How should digital health innovators think about engaging with you, and how do you think about the optimal ways that you interface with this ecosystem?
Yeah, I think the way to think about it is, if you look at our traditional e-commerce business, most of the volume coming through that platform is supplied by, our partners. So what we call internally third-party vendors. So we're not the retailer in that case. And I think you're going to see, that probably be the case, with respect to how we work in healthcare. Is it's going to be very, very kind of partnership focused, and then enabling, as Laura was saying, our audience, the folks that are using Amazon.com to kind of find and discover and get access to some really, really awesome. I mean, I was walking the floor, just really, really innovative new technologies that might help them, and then how to the extent that we can kind of make that kind of connection a little bit more accurate and relevant, I think is super important. And the last thing I'll say on the issue is it's I think one of the key problems in healthcare just generally is engagement, right? And so when we talk to some of our partners, and I spent a lot of time in a health system prior to coming back to Amazon. A key part of the issue was engagement. So we, at Providence, we had, saw a patient 2.5 times a year on average, right? And you can't really develop like a really good engaged relationship with that consumer. And it also is becoming harder and harder for traditional healthcare companies to kind of even communicate with their own customers, and because the traditional ways of doing that are kind of dying off. So like email, phone calls, consumers and patients and members are just starting to kind of turn that channel and ignore it. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can kind of be helpful in terms of making those connections and increasing that engagement.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And the other thing I'll say is people talk a lot about all the things that are wrong with healthcare. People don't often talk enough about all the things that are right with healthcare. Right? There are a lot of the parts of the healthcare industry that work really well. There are a lot of.
What would you say falls into that bucket? I'm curious.
I mean, I think there, even being out there are a lot of companies doing really, really interesting work who are doing a really good job of caring for a subset of their population, right? They're caring for certain customers who they have, and their customers really enjoy their experience. They're driving really great outcomes. They're increasing equity. They're increasing access. There are a lot of individual pockets that are doing a really, really good job. And part of it is how do we help people identify those and scale those? So part of what we're trying to think a lot about is it's not just about what's wrong, and yes, we're going to lean into that and help fix that, but it's also about making sure that you scale what's right.
Yeah. Can you guys say anything about, we actually put out a piece last week about the largest company in the world is going to be a consumer healthcare company, and part of the thesis was that there is this opportunity around cash pay models, where the out-of-pocket, sort of opportunity set for consumers is increasing over time because of what you just said, where there are just more options available now, where people can kind of vote with their feet and go. But obviously still today, the majority of our spend is reimbursed revenue in our healthcare system. Can you talk a little bit at all about how you look at that, and is that just an inevitable dimension of your model over time, or do you think that there's a different future? Yeah,
my take is it's going to be a bigger proportion, but still the vast majority is going to be covered by commercial insurance and government payers, right? And I think part of the challenge that I think consumers have is not only, like, I think the point that Laura is making is really, really pertinent, which is there's some great solutions out there that in some cases they already have access to through their through their insurance. They just don't know about it, right? And and so the story I always kind of talk about is the first time I was at Amazon, I think I visited my payer website like maybe once when I was doing open enrollment. and it was just really hard for them to kind of communicate with me, right? And so how do we kind of make that easier? How do we kind of connect in the case of clinic? Consumers kind of coming on the website, searching for care, and then finding, care for a common condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that point, folks might not know that this is your second go-about at Amazon.
Right.
You were there for many years before on the Kindle side of the house, and then went to a health system and came back. And so to that point, what have been some of your learnings so far on the healthcare side? And in particular, you mentioned earlier that there are some things that Amazon is exceptional, world-class at. But then there's other areas where you're likely having to develop net new capabilities, whether through acquisition like the PillPack team or other areas. Where are some of the areas that you would highlight where there's the biggest gap and perhaps the biggest opportunity for new competencies to be developed versus those where you are really looking to leverage the core of what Amazon has built to date?
Yeah, I think the key thing for us is, is again starting with the customer, working our way back, and then really kind of letting them kind of lead us to what makes sense with respect to their concerns and what they're trying to accomplish in terms of healthcare. I will tell you that really understanding there's certain parts of healthcare that are really, really hard to kind of, they're kind of just rails that are put into place, right? And so understanding what those are, understanding the sequence in which you have to kind of go through, to kind of progress in healthcare, there's certain kind of, pieces of that I think, we're early into this, but we're starting to kind of learn and experience and that kind of thing. And then I think the key thing is it's about making probably pretty incremental changes over a large scale will help a lot of people. So if you can just improve access just a little on a big scale, that's going to really, really help a lot of people, get the care that they need. Or if you can provide more information, or if you can engage them in a different way to get access to things that they're probably already they should already have access to through their insurer, their employer, those types of things. I think that's the kind of ideas that we're kind of bouncing around. The good news is we're super early into this. Neil started in January, I started in March, and it's a great time to be talking to us because we're gathering feedback right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say there's kind of a mini equation that I think we use around the company a lot when we're talking to other people who are trying to understand part of our philosophy. And everyone at Amazon wants to be able to have a large impact. You come into healthcare, and I think everyone in this room can say you come into healthcare because you want to be able to have a large impact. There are a lot of ways to have a large impact. I think for us, we say small changes over a long period of time at scale equals large impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have the benefit of having national reach from day one, really, versus a lot of the traditional players, being so geographically focused. That makes total sense. Aaron, I'm actually curious, is there anything that rings, or I guess is similar to or very, very different than your experience from Kindle? When you think about, that was kind of a net new business that you built with very different laws of physics than the core. Are there any similarities that you're experiencing?
Yeah, I think the similarities are, the partners that, again, books, any retail business that we've been involved in involves, very, very close relationships with our partners. Mm-hmm. And the thing I noticed is my experience in Kindle is that there were partners that would kind of lean in and really kind of talk to us, kind of who really understood the industry really well.
These are the publishers.
The publishers, yeah. and would really kind of collaborate with us. And so, and that I think is kind of what we're looking for with respect to healthcare industry. We can't do anything alone. We've got a partner, and I think, and again, I think our role is going to be kind of focused on what we've traditionally been good at, which is is connecting buyers and sellers, and hopefully making the experience a little bit better, and hopefully increasing the engagement between episodes of care. So,
awesome. Well, I think everyone in the audience is probably wondering what's next. So maybe we'll start with you, Laura, because you have the clinical lens as well as sort of having sat in the seat of a tech company for the last couple of years. What do you view as some of the no-brainer things that Amazon should pursue in the healthcare space in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, they're the things we're already pursuing, right? Pharmacy, kind of clinic, but to zoom out from the individuals, I think there are kind of principles and frameworks and mental models that we often bring to some of this work. And convenience, value, and selection, right? That applies across our Amazon businesses. It applies in retail. They talk about it in AWS. They talk about it in video. I think those are the same principles that we're applying to healthcare as we're evaluating industries and how we're going to move forward. But we talk about those same principles, and we also we map them to healthcare. So when we're talking about it, we think that increasing convenience, increasing selection, and increasing value can actually drive increases in access, increases in engagement, and then increases in quality. To use an example from pharmacy, some of my past work, we talk a lot about if we make it easier for customers to get their medications, that drives up adherence. If you drive up adherence, you have better outcomes.
Awesome. Aaron, anything to add there, or anything that you guys would not do? Like any guiding principles about things that would be outside of the strike zone?
Yeah, we're trying to just focus on what we will do, and we've been super busy, as you can probably tell. I think Laura kind of nailed it. I think the other thing too is anything that we build, we think of them in terms of like a term that we use internally called primitives, and then if they're capability that you kind of extend in multiple different directions over time. And so a lot of what we're thinking about is like maybe the first use case is kind of limited and focused, but can we kind of extend that use case over time to serve more people and more partners, bring more kind of customers and partners together. So I think that's a lot of what we're thinking about right now, which is like, what have we already launched? How can we extend it? How can we extend it in terms of its service to our customers? And how can we extend it in terms of giving our customers access to basically what's out there, right? Just incredible kind of innovation that's happening in the industry right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe, do you want to add something? No. The last question here would be, as you look at this floor and kind of track all the innovation that is happening in the digital health space, are there areas that you see gaps? Places where you maybe have inferred demand that exists amongst whether it be consumers or other partners, or just intuitively you feel like you haven't seen as much innovation as you'd want to see in the context of your marketplace and what you want to offer up to your customers?
I every time I think I see a gap, usually somebody tells me about a company that's working on that. So it's pretty rare. I think there's a lot of in healthcare. There's been a lot of gaps that people are doing good work in. As it always kind of comes down to, it's 10% the kind of space and the strategy, and it's 90% execution. So, and healthcare is difficult because it's a complex, kind of three-party system, if you will, and so I think there's probably gaps out there, but for me it's probably just my own ignorance that I just don't know who's working on it. So I think that goes to the larger point that we've been making here, which is how do you kind of harness that and make it available to a big audience that's probably looking for solutions in their healthcare. So that's the challenge ahead of us.
Yeah. Anything you'd call out, Nora?
I agree completely. There are so many great solutions out there. Not all customers know about them. Not all payers know about them. And to us, I'm always impressed by the complexity of problems that a lot of the startups, mid-sized companies, even large companies are working on. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to launch Clinic, is we have a lot we can add to support all of these companies, all of you, in the noble missions you guys are pursuing. And part of this is being able to come out here and say that we're here, we have resources to support, and we're here in this journey to help customers get healthier.
So I want to flip it around on you. So where do you see kind of gaps and opportunities, in the market?
I think, we also key off a lot on what the payers are saying, right? And at the end of the day, we as consumers have needs, but then there's what we'll get paid for in a meaningful enough way to justify a venture scale business. So coming at it from the venture lens, I think we're seeing a lot of activity around higher acuity areas of need. So I think the last several years have been really characterized by primary care, low acuity urgent care, even mental health, more lower acuity therapy type options. But now we're seeing kind of that next level of need around higher acuity areas, and so that would be one area that I would say the interesting tailwind will be around the payment model, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and how can you marry the opportunity to leverage cash pay dollars with insurance coverage to create the right business model. And
I would also add, this is kind of out of our Amazon's bailiwick, but the staffing crisis for providers. Yes. So so absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and thanks for everyone for being here.
Thanks, Wara, Aaron, and Julie.